What's up, YouTube? How y'all doing? We are over at twitch.tv/Lawler hanging out with chat. As always, you guys know how it goes. The lovely people in chat are saying hello. If you guys would also like to join us, I stream every day but Tuesday, twitch.tv/Lawler. Come hang out with us. Also, listen to the people in the chat. They say to hit the subscribe button. If it's red, make it gray. Turn on notifications. We'd love to see you back for more videos. But in today's video, we're going to be doing something that we did last week as well, but for a different region. North America Major is going down this weekend. We've got 2 days of competitive action, $100,000 on the line, and some pretty interesting storylines. The big ones, G2 Esports, FaZe Clan, and Shopify Rebellion, all fighting to be in the top 6. 2 spots, the 3 teams. Those are pretty much the logistical ones that have a chance to make it into the RLCS X Championship. So we're going to be doing a couple things. Number one, we haven't done a tier list for North America in a very long time, so we're going to be listing who I think are my top 10 teams, and some of those obviously aren't going to be playing in the major, possibly, but it's to give you guys a general idea of, like, if one is playing 2, one should win, and all the way down the list, just to give you a general idea of going into the major, what to look out for. But the 3 teams I'm keeping my eye out on this weekend: G2, FaZe Clan, and Shopify Rebellion. Their results are the only ones I care about, because that's who determines who goes to the championship. After we're done with that, we're going to go into the actual major and do some predictions. We're going to take a look at groups, talk about the scenarios about how Reynolds is suspended for day 1, Com probably not playing because he's got graduation, how that will affect the results, and which team, because they're both in the same group, is going to make it through and then get full strength on the final bracket, and how much of a difference it'll make. It probably won't, because the other teams are really good. We've got our teams on the right-hand side, our top 20-ish. We can probably cut it off around like the 16 area of consideration. Plus, it fits perfectly when I scroll up. That's the real reason. And we've got our top 10 on the other side. So initially, it is going to be just first thought. Let's plug some names in, and then we'll make some adjustments. So until I like give it the Lawler seal of approval, which is not a real thing, but I'll probably be like, you know, it's done. That's when we know that is my locked in. And I'll re-emphasize when we get there. So teams that are obviously in: Energy, Envy for sure, Space Station Gaming, G2 Esports, Rogue. These are not in order. FaZe Clan, Stupid Capitals, Shopify Rebellion. V1 I think has potential, but they're inconsistent. XSET's been popping pretty well lately. United has potential. Who else do we put in the mix? I think you can put in Alpine when they decide they want to show up. Sonics when the Raul rolled his magic is kicking. Charlotte Phoenix has actually been doing okay too. PK not so much. Oxygen I wouldn't put them in there. Oh, Ghost Gaming, duh. Although I think that they're at the bottom of the food chain, along with PK. I think these 2 are automatically out anyway. Same with CLT. So it's pretty much between these guys. I think we're pretty much taking the list as is and then adjusting it how I think things are going to go. Let's start thinking about who goes where. I personally think Energy has a play style that is built on consistency. They don't have the highest skill ceiling. If you're taking teams that are playing at their absolute peak on LAN, I think Energy is god tier. But we don't do LANs anymore. Everything is online and in a regional, so that docks them a little bit. They are built for me for consistency. They're not going to be the flashiest, they're not going to be the craziest, but they're going to get results, and 9 out of 10 times, I want to give them the nod. I think Energy is a really solid team in top. But if I look at teams playing at their peak, their pinnacle, and teams that are just, I think, can beat most teams, I personally think Envy could be the best team in North America. Realistically, I do think Envy has a ton of potential to just dominate the region, and their skill ceiling, when they are on, they're unstoppable. Their midfield presence is godly, and I think they're a very, very talented team. Whether we get that or not, I think is a totally different conversation, but I am talking about who I think will win. Now, I will say that this argument can go both ways. I think there is 2 sides of the coin to this. I can make the argument of being like, yeah, 9 out of 10 times, Energy, consistency, they'll probably win. But consideration with Justin's mentality where he's at right now, is feeling unmotivated and doesn't really want to. I think that does dock Energy a little bit, which is why I can put Envy above. On the other side of things, though, I will say Energy's consistency is why they are in the standings by 30 points, 29 points. But the point is, they are very consistent for a reason. They may not win every single event, but they are without a doubt going to find themselves in the top 4 every single time. They are a competitor. They're a very talented team, a lot of experience. And at this point, there is arguments that these two could be swapped. I just think I'm going to take the skill ceiling right now and give it to Envy. Envy could be and has the potential to be the best team in the region if they can play at that high tier of talent. So again, if it comes down to the wire, it's Turbo. It's the 4-time. That's another way to give them the nod. Now, on the other side of things, Space Station definitely feels like they're grinding lately. So the next tier below that to me is Space Station, G2, and Rogue. Rogue has a crazy skill ceiling. How often do you get to see it is another story. If we actually take a look here and look at more of the later results, consistent but outpaced by everybody above them, right? Even here, balances out pretty dang similar. Here, a little bit lesser. So they are definitely the conversation, I think, with sometimes Space Station, Rogue, G2, FaZe. I think this is basically the next tier you're looking at, and you can kind of go in between there on how you feel things should apply. I think FaZe Clan is definitely at 6. They've had difficulties beating teams above them throughout the entire season. We have been trying to get them to push into a top 4 spot, and although they have glimpses of it, I do think they rely a little bit too heavily on AJ. I will say both Illusion and Gyro heavily underrated. Gyro has been popping lately, which is really exciting to see, and Illusion has just been solidified on that side. People recently put out a post on Reddit who's the most underrated in North America. I think you can put Illusion in there. I think you can put Gyro in there. I think you can put Memory from Shopify Rebellion in there as well. I think all 3 of those players do not get enough credit. Very talented players that definitely don't get enough praise. But FaZe Clan, I think just results-wise and stuff, they've been struggling to stay at that top side. So I'm going to leave them at 6th. As for G2, I'm also going to bump them down, and only for one reason. Although the potential has been great, I do like what G2 is doing. I'm not sure on what version of G2 we're going to get yet. Because Drees is very talented, and he provides a unique look that keeps them in the conversation of one of the best teams in the region, which I think is really tough to do. Half the time when you bring in different teams and you bring in different players, there's a chance that your team just plummets super hard due to the fact that, like, hey man, like we're trying to figure things out. We don't know how things are going to play. We got to work on a new play style. And the fact that G2 is still super competitive, I think is awesome, and is probably why they will be one of the 6 teams going into that final bid, even with the roster change. But I say that with the concern, obviously, of how are things going to play out on a month-to-month basis, because it has been quite a bit of time since we've seen these teams play. So that could be more time in practice and scrims to get things developed. Chicago is also getting his 2nd dose of the vaccination today when I'm recording this video on the 19th. Maybe that's some time away from the game, and they're going to need those extra bit of reps, possibly. There's a lot of different things that you can kind of make excuses for, but I have some uncertainty between G2 with a new player and a developing player. I do think they have a lot of talent, though, and that's why they're still in my top 5. Even though FaZe Clan and G2, I think, could both be in that 5 spot. They're both absolutely frustrating. I think these 3 are a lot closer than it may seem. I understand 5, 6, 7 to a lot of people visually is like, wow, that's such a drop. But I think these 3 are a lot closer than people think. I really do. But between Rogue and Space Station, I think I want to give it to Space Station. I think their new playstyle and the way that they're grinding and the motivation puts them in a really good spot. They obviously have had really good results lately, 2nd and 1st place. But the fact that they're losing to Envy is part of the reason why I have them where I do. So Space Station, I think, as of recent, that remotivated. Obviously, they got very complacent in winter after being absolutely dominant in the fall. Their playstyle is fast. It's aggressive. They control offense like no other. It's brutal. It is brutal being on the receiving end of Space Station right now. I think they're a very good team, but I like the consistency because Space Station's playstyle, like teams like Team Queso and everybody that's going into this wicked aggressive, really, really demo-heavy playstyle, if you're not on, if you're not putting in the hours, if you're not just really doing everything in your power to make sure the touches are on point, domino effect, it falls apart very quickly. So Space Station, if they're grinding, they look great, but I'm a little bit worrisome from that. I do think their playstyle does remove First Killer and Rogue, and is something like this matchup is just an exciting one to watch because you get some interesting playstyles. A team that I think is one of the best at making adjustments mid-series. I think Chrome and what he does over on that team does a phenomenal job of making those minute adjustments from game to game, rather than from like 2-3 down. It is like an immediate change next game, and you'll see those adjustments mid-series. So I think Space Station has the nod over Rogue, even though Rogue's skill ceiling, we've seen it. When they're playing on, they're almost impossible. I love seeing First Killer use his mechanics to set up his teammates like Turinturo and Taroko, who I still think is still underutilized as a third because the boy's cracked. And Rogue, a lot of potential, really good team. Top 4 is no joke. So I think 1 through 7 is pretty solidified. I haven't really talked about Shopify Rebellion. Obviously a lot of potential. They've had some ups and downs. They're middle of the road. To me, they're a gatekeeper team. Like if you want to break into like the world championships, Shopify is who you got to go through. And that's not a bad spot to be in. That's why I think these 3 are all within striking range, which is exactly how it goes in here. I do apologize. This is kind of boring because the only thing that is swapped is these 2, now that I look at it. And that wasn't even intentional. These are the only 2 that I've swapped. I apologize that this is literally just copy paste as of right now. But I think it's for a reason. I think NA is pretty consistent. EU's all over the place because I think people just aren't playing as much and have laxed. I think Vitality could definitely be beaten up on some people, but they're just like, we don't get to fight for a trophy. Who cares? Which is funny. Video coming up is going to be me ranting about why K-Dop is a goat and you need to put a respect on his name. Hopefully you guys are ready for that one. Yeah, I think Shopify Rebellion has some ups and downs. Sometimes they look really, really frustrating on offense. But then there's other times where they let in free stuff. And I think it's part of their playstyle. A little bit of pretty much like controlled chaos is how I explain them, but it's a pretty talented roster. Beast mode, obviously good. Rapid, although his rotational play is kind of weird to me, it does keep the other team guessing and it makes it frustrating to play against. But there's times where he'll like cut in rotation. And it's just like, why are you double committing here? There's no point for that. And it gets him punished. These next 3 are going to be difficult. I think you can get rid of Pittsburgh Knights. I think they've pretty much removed themselves. They used to be known with Ghost as 2 teams with really solid defenses. I haven't seen it much lately. Charlotte Phoenix puts up a fight, but not enough to be top 10. Sonics, I think you can possibly keep into arguments. Sonics has definitely shown that there's a lot of potential on that roster. And if you look at their recent results, although not amazing, they mirror something like Alpine. So that's why I have Sonics and Alpine both in this conversation. If we take a peek at E United, not even qualifies. So E United, I don't think we can put there. If we're talking right now, I don't think E United could be in the conversation. I think they've done some interesting things, but as of late, it's been hit and miss. I think that team's got a ton of potential. I like what Dapper's bringing to it, but I honestly just haven't seen it. On the other side of things, I think realistically, Alpine had a good event recently, but that's it. Otherwise, they've been pretty much non-existent, which is unfortunate because they came in as a team that was a top 8. They were a top 8 fight, a lot of talent, but Percy's gone now. Like, we'll see what happens with that team. I've got high hopes for Alpine. I love the organization. I love the way they treat the kids. I love what Mystic's doing over there. I think he's a great team coach for them. He just fits their personalities really well and helps them with like the mental stuff that we're going on with. And they've gotten over the initial hurdle of like, yo, if we have a strong start, we fall off. They now tend to do a better job of closing out a series. So there's that. X-Set, my initial thoughts, has been really fun to watch, because X-Set went from a team that was trying to figure stuff out to let us be aggressive. They finally started getting really aggressive and applying pressure, and it's just made a world of difference. That pressure that they're applying has made them look incredible in the grid, and results-wise, not too bad in the recent results. I mean, you compare them to version 1, and they're on par. It's dead even. Most recently, V1 does perform a little bit better, which is why I think I would put V1 at 8. I think V1 potential-wise, we've seen, as someone who's casted and been able to watch V1 through their entire development this season. Shout out to V1. You guys have treated us very well. I appreciate the opportunity. But V1 is as up and down as it gets. I think like 58% of their matches or something. I don't know if D-Rex and Chatty can correct me, but like 58% of their matches go to game 5 or 7 against teams like FaZe Clan above them. They're 8-1 in head-to-head. They've only won once against FaZe Clan. There's issues that they have with Shopify Rebellion, where times I do think they're a better team personally than Shopify Rebellion, but Shopify Rebellion has the results, and objectively, you can't argue with that. So V1 has the potential to go toe-to-toe against all of these teams. I've seen them do it 100 times. Game 5 OT down to the wire, and it's one mistake that really, really puts them down, which is unfortunate. The other thing to consider, Calm, I do not think will be playing for V1 in the major. I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration, which I'll talk more about when we do predictions. But there is a very high chance Calm will not be playing. He has graduation for high school going on during the exact same time of the majors. So I think they will be playing with Fireburner, which the last time Fireburner played with Cloud9, if you guys don't remember, went pretty well. So maybe that's just some nostalgia magic, but Fireburner is one of the most moldable players, I think, in the RLCS. Very similar to Chrome in that regard, where they just fit and understand the game at such a good level. You just plug them in. What do you want them to do? Let Torment and Gimmick's offense shine, because for those that don't realize it, Torment's pretty cracked and also underrated. When Torment is up on offense, the boy's been hitting flip resets and double touches and stuff. He's not just a brick wall on defense anymore. Very talented. Him and Gimmick have really good synergy, a lot of aggression. You have Fireburner be in that golden striker position. I think you could see some exciting things happen. Calm obviously brings patience to the team, and he also brings some interesting mechanical plays with his ones mentality and conditioning players to go for certain things and providing some options, but that may hurt them 100% with the things that they're trying to develop with him not being there. So that is something in consideration. I do think you could possibly drop them down a little bit because they've been so close with Xset. I do think you could swap these in, but if your replacement is Fireburner, how much has Fireburner been playing? That's kind of an unknown. I don't know the results of that. I don't know how much he's been playing. He's had multiple weeks to prepare for this, knowing the situation. So it won't be like coming in out of nowhere with the player. It'll be like a, hey man, we're playing for some money. Let's have some fun. And I think that mentality actually helps V1 a lot because they're completely out of the running for the major or for the championship. So I do like V1 at 8. Tons of potential to play at the top, unlike, I think, Xset. And I think you could possibly make arguments between Sonics as well. Sonics has actually had better results recently. Most recency bias, they are the least of the 3. But before that, they've got the results. So it looks like people have figured out what's going on with Rolled is a little bit. Roll. I think these could be swapped quite a bit depending on how you feel about stuff. Obviously, Sonics has some pretty good potential to do some surprising upsets. I will say both Shopify and Sonics, I think making it to the semifinals and Shopify going to the grand final when they're Kansas City Pioneers was a fluke. I don't foresee it happening again, but I do think Sonics will put up a really good fight. Like if these 3 go head to head, like if it's V1 versus Sonics, V1 versus Xset, or Xset versus Sonics, who wins? I honestly do not know. And I don't think that's a good sign for any team. I think V1 should be able to, on the upswing, beat them with their full roster, but I genuinely don't know. So I'm actually happy to lock these in. I think you can make some adjustments here. I think these 2 can possibly be changed. And these are open for conversation as well. So I think there's like 3 tiers. This is S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier. I think that makes sense. I'm actually happy with that. I think G2 can possibly be put into, yeah, I would do that. I agree with you guys. Because G2, even with Drees, have been playing pretty well. They're definitely on the bottom half. I would put them at like an A-. That's what I have for the power rankings. So with that mentality, let's jump into the actual major. First things first, we are going to go through these groups. In Group A, we've got Rogue, Shopify, Rebellion, Sonics, Team Envy, and Xset. I think this is a pretty straight one for Envy and Rogue. Battle between the other 3, Shopify, Sonics, and Xset. Sonic's probably going to get knocked out, or Xset. Those are probably the 2. Group B is brutal. Group B is absolutely brutal. You got FaZe Clan, G2, NRG, Space Station, and V1. That, if every roster was at full strength, is absolutely insane. That is a crazy group. So we're going to start with just simply choosing who wins. Make it easy.
One eternity later.
So it'll probably be Energy, G2, FaZe, V1. When you got a 3-way tiebreaker, you got to go game differential. You've got Envy versus poor V1. In this match, you've got G2 and Shopify Rebellion. That's for a land spot, or for a world's spot. Got Energy and Xset, which should solidify Energy as a semifinal. And then you've got second place of Group A, which is Rogue versus FaZe. G2 is the team to watch this weekend. I'm just going to put it out there. Make this pretty easy. Envy beats V1. G2 Shopify. I believe in G2. Energy should dominate Xset. Rogue FaZe. Ooh, I don't know. Let's do heads or tails. Heads for Rogue. Tails for FaZe. Rogue it is. Envy G2. I think Envy wins that. And then Energy Rogue. If Rogue's vibing that day, if it's day 3 Rogue's vibing, you could possibly see it, but I give the consistency to Energy. Envy Energy, that's a coin toss. Let's roll some dice. We'll do a best of 7 roll dice on that one. Here we go. Off the table. Energy. This, I will say, will be the best regional, or the best major, because it has so much on the line. Like, the thing that I think a lot of us have been missing in general when it comes to what's been missing from this season of the RLCS is storylines. Things that grip us and differentiate events. This event is going to feel special because there's 3 teams playing for something with qualifications on the line. Even though the next tournament's not going to be like anything grand because it's supposed to be a world championship, imagine if this is an international major. Imagine if this is teams from across the world are all competing for points to see if they go to the World Championship. Like, that's what's missing from the season. And you're telling me FaZe, G2, and Shopify Rebellion are all fighting for that to go to the Worlds, in this case, RLCS Championship for NA Regional. That's what's awesome. So last roll here. We'll see who wins it. Envy Energy. It is Energy. The consistency prevails. Actually beat Turbo. Maybe that's the play. Maybe Justin's motivation comes flying through because he doesn't want to lose to his former teammate. They want to prove that they made the right choice with Squishy. I respect it. I think that's a good final either way. And if that is the case, that means FaZe would lose here. G2 would lose here. So it'd be G2 FaZe go through and Shopify Rebellion just barely misses out on the qualification. So as a reminder, if things go according to the way that I have them, it will be your 6 that qualify into the RLCS Championship is going to be Enter General, Envy, Space Station, Rogue, G2, and FaZe. As it sits, Shopify will just barely miss out on the qualification. Heartbreak for them. And then for my tier list, number 1, Envy, 2 is Energy, 3 is Space Station, 4 is Rogue, 5 is G2, 6 is FaZe, 7 is Shopify Rebellion, 8 is V1, 9 is Xset, and 10 is Sonics. So that is what I have. That is what I've got. If you guys enjoy me doing stuff like this, as always, make sure you let me know in the comments down below if there's anything that you would change up. Let me know your own tier list in the comments down below. It's always a good idea as well. But these have been fun. It's fun to hang out with chat and just kind of have open discussion about how things are going and how things are playing out. Plus, the kind words are always fantastic. Isaac, even in chat, is like, yo, dude, love the grind on the vids. They've been stupendous lately. Just want to say we all love and appreciate your content. Thank you, Isaac. I love and appreciate you watching and supporting the content. And that applies to everybody watching. If you're a YouTube frog or over on the Twitch, it doesn't matter. The support is greatly appreciated either way. But that's what I've got for this video. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, like I said, as always, in the comments down below, links to everything that I'm using, the rankings page, the bracket and stuff will be in the description along with all my social medias. Chat, there they are for you as well. Go like and follow those. It'd be greatly appreciated. Also, if you enjoy the content and have yet to do so, give it a thumbs up, as well as make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. And we will see you all next time. Peace.